Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Kerry Stevenson. Today, I'm talking with Siobhan Lancaster. She's the Managing Director of 92 Energy. If you want to know the full background to 92 Energy, I did an interview with Siobhan about 5 months ago, so you can search for that on the Small Caps website. Because today what I want to do is I want to talk about an exciting set of results that's come out. Briefly, 92 Energy are up in the Athabasca Basin in Canada. Now, that is known as the highest grade uranium district globally. So it's a great place to discover, to uncover and to discover, I should say. Now, 92 Energy only listed in April last year. So I'm talking to Siobhan in April this year, and they have been busy. So sit up and take some notice, because I think this is one of the most exciting discoveries in this sector, and I really want to uncover that with you. Siobhan, good to see you. Thanks for coming back to Small Caps and having a chat.
Hi, Kerry. Thanks so much for that great introduction.
Well, it is a great introduction because I think that you've got a story that people really need to understand, and I want to just talk about what you've been doing at the Gemini, the GMZ zone, as we'll call it. Because you've done some more drilling since we last spoke. And it sounds to me like this area is delivering some very high-grade hits, if you like, because this is uranium, and it's not the same as, I guess, gold or other minerals. So just first up, talk about your winter campaign and what you've discovered.
Sure. Thanks, Kerry. So we have gone back to the Gemini mineralised zone this year in our winter 2022 drill program. We've drilled 5,500 metres, and that drilling was to follow up the initial GMZ discovery hole, which was Gemini 004, where we uncovered 5.5 metres of 0.12% uranium on our first drill campaign ever as a company.
Now, before you go on, sure. Just unpack that for those that don't understand what those numbers mean in terms of the importance of the grade and the discovery.
Sure. So 0.12% uranium is equivalent to 1,200 ppm uranium. So I like to always compare it to Namibian deposits because it's a good benchmark, and Australians obviously understand Namibian deposits. So, for example, Husab, which was Extract's deposit, which we sold to the Chinese for 2.2 billion, that had an average grade of 450 ppm. So these grades are in the initial drill hole already substantially higher than that.
Wow.
And so that was our first drill hole, and it was very encouraging. Now, of course, I should premise that with discoveries in the Athabasca Basin tend to be much higher than discoveries in Namibia. They're different types of deposits. So they tend to be, on average, sort of 10 times higher the grade of Namibian deposits. So we really are working within a high-grade area. And that first drill hole in the Athabasca at the GMZ of 0.12% is a pretty nice place to start. There's not many companies that put drill holes down and get that result from their first drill hole in a target area. So very exciting.
How deep did you go? And in comparison, you compare it to Namibia, is grade really important in the uranium sector? In other words, you said the Athabasca Basin is 10 times higher grade. Is that important? Like, will that cause more people to want to be involved with what you've got? Does that make sense?
Look, any uranium deposit depends on several different variables as to whether or not it's economic. So that could be size of the resource as well as the grade. So this all comes into sort of how the economics of a project work. But just for example, you know, McArthur River, which is only 27 kilometres from the GMZ zone, that has grades, that's got the highest grades in the world. They're up to 10%. You know, so there's some extremely high grade uranium deposits. But then in saying that, there's also, you know, deposits in the Athabasca Basin that have been mined and very, very good economics associated with that. And they're less than 0.5% uranium. So, you know, there's huge variability. as with any deposit, it depends on how near surface it is, how large it is, and, you know, sort of what the economics are. But I should also add that, you know, we're sort of getting ahead of ourselves because we're really only 12 drill holes into the GMZ. So it's very hard to really say exactly what it is, but we're exceptionally encouraged by what we've got today.
Well, you talked about the first drill hole that you put in, but let's talk about this recent campaign, which you've announced to the market. Sounds to me like it's going in the right direction and that these are very strong indications that this is a good size, good grade.
Look, as I said, it's very early days, but certainly we're very encouraged by these results that we've put out. So what we've put out is scintillometer results, which are CPS results. They're counts per second using a handheld scintillometer. And they give us an indication of radioactivity. So what we've done is we use the scintillometer and we go over the core with that, and we take minimum and maximum readings. So this gives us sort of an indication of the width of the intervals, and it also gives us an indication of, you know, potential grade, I should say, associated with CPS. So obviously the higher the CPS, the more potential you have for grade. So these, for example, the last 4 drill holes, we had very strong CPS readings. One of the holes was 22 meters, which had a maximum reading of 15,780 CPS, which if you compare that to the first drill hole, which was the GEM004 that we were just talking about, that had a maximum reading of 2,000 CPS. So this is multiple times higher for the maximum reading. But of course, as anything, until you actually get the assays and grades, you really can't say exactly what the grades are going to be, but these are extremely encouraging signs for us. And what's particularly encouraging is how those last 4 drill holes are moving in a certain direction at the GMZ and sort of becoming stronger as they move in that direction. So that's very encouraging for us because it indicates to us that potentially we're on the edge when we drilled that first line of drill holes. And as we move further south, we get into sort of better looking radioactivity and potentially uranium grade as a result. And that the mineralization is getting stronger and it's hanging together really nicely as well. And I think that's a really important and crucial point.
So is this giving you an indication of where you're going to go with the next drilling? So you're waiting on, you've done what we call the CPS, which is the counts per second. That's an indicator. And as you said, almost 10 times what the first drill hole. So looking like you're going in the right direction. What does this look like in terms of going forward where you're going to drill? You said you're going to go south. Is that correct?
Yeah, so just give me a minute and I'll share my screen with you and just show everyone exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Can you see that, Kerry?
Yep.
Fantastic. So this is the GMZ here. As you can see, this is a background of magnetics. So the low magnetics is in the blue, and of course, the darker the blue, the more indication that you potentially have alteration in the system, which was the first indicator of why we actually went to this area, or one of the first indicators, I should say. So what we have here is we've got some of the drill holes that we've drilled, and we've got different colorings for different results from different holes. So as you can see here on the edge, you know, it's 300 to 500 CPS. And as you get down here to the southern area, those drilling results become stronger and better. As you move to the west, they become even stronger. So that far western result is really that 15,000 CPS maximum reading that we were talking about. Now, I should say that the 15,000 CPS doesn't necessarily mean the whole interval. Well, the whole interval is not 15,000 CPS. So that will be determined obviously by the drill results. So but we do know it's hanging together and it looks pretty decent from what we've seen so far.
So you're heading in the right direction. And I can see from this where you've done the drilling. You've done some drill holes before. When it's that sort of 300 to 500, when you get that sort of a result, that's kind of like a move on, or is that still potentially economic, or is that, look, it's an indicator, but it's not where we're going to continue?
Look, I mean, all these deposits are different. So it's an indicator that we're in the right area, but certainly these are more the sorts of counts per second that you want to see. And this is definitely moving in the right direction. So, and you can see here, you've got the base load boundary here. So the claim boundary.
Oh, yes.
But the actual mineralization is moving to the southwest. And so this is up dip. So when I say up dip, I'm talking about the mineralization gets closer to surface.
Oh, okay.
So you want to see the closer to surface mineralization. So that moves in a westerly direction towards that way. And obviously the southerly direction would be along strike as well.
Okay, I got a couple of other questions, Siobhan. First of all, and keep that up if you wouldn't mind for a minute, because
sure.
We've got the CPS measurement for these drill holes, but it's really the assay results that are going to indicate what you've actually got there, and then you're going to announce that to the market. So I'm sort of sitting here saying, my beautiful community out there will be going, when are they coming out? Because that's what they'll get excited about.
Well, they're actually, the last time we put an assay result in for GEM004, which is actually this yellow star just here.
Yep.
So that had a CPS max reading of 2000 or 2000 thereabouts. And that drill result, the assay came out, we sort of got that 2 to 3 weeks after we actually got the assays in. But I suspect it'll be a bit longer this time. So we're looking at probably 4 to 8 weeks to receive these drill results.
Yeah, but how long have they been in? Did you put them in 4 weeks ago? Is it going to be imminent?
Well, good question. No, we've only just finished the program. So we only just pulled up the drill rig at the beginning of the week. And so they've only just gone into the assay lab this week.
Okay, so we're looking between, you, in your opinion, 4 to 8 weeks, but that is going to be very exciting, and that's going to actually tell you, but you're pretty certain that that sort of southern area, and I guess that's that western area, is that where the next drill program is going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So we really feel like we've learned a lot about the mineralization from this last program. So, everything is about learning and learning about what it is that you're actually dealing with. And we've certainly learned a lot. So from our learnings, it's very indicative that the mineralization is moving in a westerly direction and a southwesterly direction. So that's what we'll be looking at drilling the next program round.
Siobhan, for investors, what's the news? Give us a bigger picture, if you like, of what's going to be happening. As I mentioned right at the beginning, you listed in, I think it was the 14th of April last year. We're now in April 2022. So in a year, you certainly come a long way, if you like, because it was very much a greenfields operation to begin with. And now you're sort of uncovering what could be quite an exciting discovery and district ultimately. So what my audience would like to know is, what's the bigger picture? And I guess a bit more on the investment thesis around 92 Energy and what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So I always come back to what our vision was as a company. From day dot, our vision was to go out there and find a greenfields uranium discovery that could potentially be a strategic discovery going forward. So that's essentially what we're looking for. And so hopefully that's potentially what we're onto. It's very early days yet, so it's very hard to actually know exactly what we are onto. But it's certainly very, very encouraging. And in terms of the strategy, we would definitely be following up on this area. We'll always continue to do regional exploration. We obviously have 5 other projects, which we picked up using the same prospectivity model that we use to pick up Gemini as well. So we've got to do some exploration on some of those areas as well. And so this year will be busy. I mean, it has been busy already. extremely busy. And, so the good news is, though, to get back into Gemini, we're basically just taking a 2-month break because the snow is melting there at the moment. And so we'll be back out there before you know it. So within the next, I think I've said in June, we're looking to get back out there and start drilling again.
But let me just tell my audience as well, when she says we're taking a two-month break, she doesn't mean that she's going off to the Bahamas to sit on a beach, because I can tell you she's going to be very busy planning, I guess, what's going to be happening in June. Is that correct?
Look, absolutely. There's a lot of planning that goes into these programs. And I think the really good thing is that when you're in the middle of drilling, it's really hard to see the big picture. Yeah. So it's really nice to be able to step back and review all your results and really go, okay, what have we got and how are we going to make the best of this going forward? So I think we'll use this time very well. And certainly, we'll be spending some time modelling and looking at what we've got to date, and hopefully delivering on some really good results during the upcoming program as well. So we've got the assays, we've got the planning. We'll be releasing obviously what our plans are for the next program, and then we'll be back out there. So lots of news flow, I would think.
And I think it's those assay results when they come up, sit up and take notice, ladies and gentlemen, because that could be really interesting. But one thing I also want to just, I guess, help our audience understand is you understand the uranium sector. You've had some experience in this sector. Can you just give us a brief overview of why you like the sector and your background? Because I want them to understand that 92 Energy is in good hands because you've had that experience. Now, I'm not blowing your trumpet, but I do want them to understand a little bit more on your background.
Yeah, sure. So, the uranium market, I'm extremely bullish about the uranium price, and that's really why we set up 92 Energy as a starting point. We saw the spot price where it was when we started, and we looked at the fundamentals, and we really knew this market was going to move. And the thing about the uranium market is when it moves quickly. Yeah. And so we really wanted to capture that movement in the market. Now, my background is from Extract Resources, which I've mentioned before on this program. I was the company secretary, corporate affairs. We had a big discovery in Namibia, and that was the Husab uranium project that we then sold to CGMPC. So I actually did quite a bit of work with CGMPC when that takeover occurred, and was sort of an integral part of that takeover at the time. So very, very familiar with the feasibility phases of these projects, and building a resource up and all of those juicy bits in between. So yeah, I'm hoping we get to a similar position with 92 Energy. As I keep circling back, it's very early days, but these are extremely promising results. I think if you compare our market cap to our next door neighbour Baseload, who happens to be listed on the TSX, we've got extremely similar results and half the market cap. So to me, if I was an investor, I would be looking at that going, there's some pretty good opportunity here within 92 Energy. And I think the difference between the Canadian market and the Australian market is they understand these CPS results. So it's about educating the market here about what these are. And hopefully this does that.
Well, it's interesting you brought that up, because I'd like to ask, would you look at a dual listing at some point in the future, because you are in Canada? And you're right, the North American market understands that the Athabasca Basin is the highest grade uranium district globally. Like, they get it. So would you look at potentially doing that to get some of those funds and some of that interest from the North American market?
Look, I certainly will never close any door on any opportunity, and we would look to that. But what I would say at the moment is I have full confidence that the Australian investor community will work out exactly what's going on here. And, sometimes it just takes the market a little bit of time to, really catch on, and I think they will. So, I'm not jumping at the opportunity of listing on the TSX at this point, but I certainly won't close the door on that going forward.
All right. Well, we are running out of time, Siobhan. That was a really good update, and I like where you're going. I love this picture of where the next drill program will be, and that you've got some time, as you said just a moment ago, time to look at the big picture, because planning is really key when looking at these deposits. Before I just close it all off, you did briefly mention that you've got some other areas. Are you just going to focus on the GMZ for the moment?
Look, we will, of course, our main focus will be on the GMZ at the moment, but we will always be doing exploration on our other areas as well. So we've got to meet our minimum commitments. So we will be meeting our minimum commitments on several of those this year. So stay tuned. We will update the market in due course on what we'll be doing on some of our other projects going forward.
Righto. Well, most people know I always like to finish off with 3 reasons, and 3 only, why people should be sitting up. Our beautiful community out there should be sitting up and taking notice of 92E right now.
Right. Well, I think the first thing to note is that it's an extremely strong uranium market at the moment. The momentum is certainly going in one direction, and that is up. So we've seen the spot price go above $60 a pound over the last few days. This is the highest price in 10 years. And so I'm very bullish on the market. So that's the first point. The second is that we're awaiting our assay results, and hopefully there'll be some nice results in there. And again, those CPS readings, those maximum CPS readings, were multiples of times higher than what those initial readings from GEM 004 were. So stay tuned on that. And then I think the third most important thing is, I think we're onto something here, and the next drill program will really assist us in determining what exactly it is we're onto. But we seem to be improving as we move in a certain direction. And so I think the following up drill holes will be quite crucial, and hopefully give us the results that we're all hoping for.
Well, Siobhan, I love your energy. I love the fact of how enthusiastic you are about what you've got. And actually, as you say, the assays results are pending. And as Siobhan pointed out a moment ago, and by the way, do your own research, ladies and gentlemen. It's your money. Do your own research. But the market cap of 92E is half that of their peer next door. And they think that potentially this could be even bigger. Siobhan Lancaster, Managing Director of 92 Energy, thanks so much for coming on Small Caps today. What a great story. We'll see you next. Come back, maybe do a short one when those assay results come up, so we can just do a quick update to the market.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kerry.